Hi everyone, Joshua Fletcher here with DS Slade. I'm joined by Greg Myers. Hi Greg,
Hello.
good to have you back on again. And special guest this evening is, or this morning depending on where you are, is Shekhar Iyer. Hi Shekhar.
Hi, Josh. Hi, Greg.
Thanks very much for making some time to join us this morning. To get us started with our discussion, which is all about predictive analytics and SAP, do you want to give us a little bit of detail on your role with SAP? You're new to SAP, what you're going to be doing and focusing on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh and Greg, for setting up this podcast. Really looking forward to sharing some thoughts and ideas. My name is Shekhar Iyer, and I'm the Global Vice President of Business Intelligence and Predictive. And my role at SAP, I joined about 7-8 months ago, is really to manage all the go-to-market functions, centers of excellence, and the specialized sales team that's there that is driving and trying to grow the business of business intelligence and predictive. A little bit of background about myself. I joined from SAS. I was there for a few years managing a center of excellence similar to what I'm doing here at SAP across the customer intelligence, risk intelligence, information management solution areas. And prior to that, I used to have a wonderful view of the Golden Gate Bridge from my San Francisco house. And I used to live in San Francisco and work for a company called Informatica for close to 10 years. So been in the data applications space for close to 20 years, and I have done my obligatory .com bust in my good old days, and been a part of a company, a supply chain management company, I2 Technologies, which was a great ride, and been in consulting before that. So close to 20 years, been in very much IT, but really data, analytics, and advanced analytics. And I have a master's degree in operational research and industrial engineering, and even have developed a patent for some complex algorithms once upon a time. So,
wow. Excellent. And I understand you're actually home this week as well. You've been traveling a lot, obviously, with your new role. But where are you normally based?
I'm normally based in an airplane. 6 out of the 6 out of 8 weeks I have been on the road, so that's why I was really glad we could have this session. I am actually living in Stockholm. I know my blonde hair and blue eyes give it away, but I am, kind of lived and grew up in India and Hong Kong. I lived in the U.S. and was there for close to 20 years. So we had this continent called Europe that wasn't fully conquered. So my wife and I were here for the last 3 years, survived 4 winters. But really, I am truly in any country, and next week I'll be in Australia, your hometown, so looking forward to that.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's the first time we've actually had a guest from Sweden, so it's a first for us. So SAP have been driving really hard recently, and I think you joining the team was also indicative of that around the predictive analytics messaging, and we saw, like in the last year, we've seen the release of Lumira, and then the I guess the release of the predictive analytics version, which uses the Lumira base. And more recently, we've seen the acquisition of KXEN by SAP.
Yep.
So we were hoping in this session to I guess get some insight into the background of that, and I guess how SAP are approaching the market, because it seems to be quite different from the SaaS of the world and other organisations that focus very heavily on predictive analytics and statistical analysis. SAP are taking a slightly different approach. So would you be able to share that with us?
Sure. No, absolutely. And Josh, I think that's a great question, because if you look at the whole predictive and data mining space, it's been around for more than 30 years. So the question immediately will pop up, well, what is SAP doing? First of all, SAP has actually been in the market for a while. For many years, actually even before the last 2, because it was partnering with other vendors and trying to complement and provide the data mining, advanced analytic solutions. But about 2 years ago, it was kind of the end of 2012, SAP made the strategic decision to go into the advanced analytics space, and there was resources and teams set up to create what was the first solution, the SAP Predictive Analytics solution. Now, this was very important because it was building on the base of Lumira, our self-service visualization capabilities. And this is really exciting because it helps both business users to be able to leverage some of the advanced analytics capabilities. Then we realized that this really is a hot emerging area, and with all this buzz about big data, it means nothing if you cannot quite get value and business value out of it. And we decided to invest even more. So July, September, we made the announcement to acquire KXEN. And in October, we actually acquired it, and it's a part of SAP. Now, the question comes, why did we acquire KXEN? One of the really interesting things that's happening in the marketplace is how business users, business analysts, technologists, hobbyists, all want to get their hands on data, not only able to do visualization and self-service BI, but kind of take it to the next level. How do I predict the future? How do I optimize certain things? And this is the important element, without having to spend half my life getting PhDs and figuring out all this. And this whole concept of self-service is pervading through not just BI, but also predictive and advanced analytics. How can you give more power to the user? And that was a very key reason for acquiring KXEN, because that's really what they brought to the table and very widely recognized by analysts and other players.
So to kind of build on that a little bit, and Josh mentioned the different approach that SAP is taking. So I know traditionally these advanced analytics and predictive tools tend to scare the average person, the average business user, or even the average analytics analyst away, right? Because math is scary, statistics especially, right? But
sure.
So I know that with predictive, you're trying to take a step to make it available to everyone. Can you kind of expound on how you're making these complex algorithms and this predictive science more user-friendly?
Absolutely. And Greg, Josh, maybe I can share a few concepts and thoughts on that. If you don't mind, I wanted to just share a few slides on this.
Yeah, go
and
for it.
Just let me know if you are able to see this. Hopefully you can see this.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Let me make sure I do have. Okay, start screen share. That might help.
There we go.
Here it comes.
Okay, so very, very relevant question, Greg, and I think this is a very important element to kind of explain what and how we are doing different. If you look at this right-hand corner, the data scientists, these are the special, unique breed, and they really are special because they are like less than 0.1. In some companies, it's like 0.001. And a lot of the current legacy tools and solutions have been very much geared towards it and have made this 99+% of business analysts and business users not really capable of using it. And that is actually part of the reason why the usage and pervasiveness of advanced analytics has not permeated as much as what BI and other solutions have. And what is important is, how do we make sure that A, we can make data scientists more productive, because it's not that we want to exclude them, but they're also burdened with so much demand and they don't have the time. But B, create a new set of users, the technically savvy business analysts, data analysts, that are quite know enough to be dangerous, but how do we arm them with a solution that they can do without having to know statistics, without having to have a PhD, and that we have, and this is the beauty of what KXEN had built over 15 years, is that once you define the business problem, once you give it the pointers to the data, it is able to figure out what is the best models to create automatically and helps you do that in an automatic way. So Greg, that is exactly what we feel, is that this is really relevant to take the next step in making it usable for business analysts and do it in an easy, useful way. And then the next step is you want to actually provide the value of advanced analytics to business users or line of business people with no understanding at all. And if you look at it, what we want to do is bring the power of predictive to applications and business applications automatically. And here it's important to give an example. Let's say you have a call center agent. Trust me, they have no desire to understand statistics or analytics, but what they are very interested in, how they can improve their performance by knowing the next best activity or next best offer to give a customer while they have them real time on a phone. And if a system can give the intelligence, this customer with this profile is most likely to buy this or take this offer, you have given the power of predictive without them knowing how to spell predictive. And this is really what is important, is that SAP is really, A, making the data scientists more productive, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but making the business analysts more comfortable and more easy to use and embedding it within applications. So if you look at this, we really look at the data scientists doing custom, deep, complex problems. We look at the business analysts that have industry and business process analytics. And as I mentioned, we want embedded analytics, machine-to-machine, automatic, intelligent capabilities brought in and embedded within applications. And this is really where the SAP Advanced Analytics provides the whole spectrum, right? You mentioned Lumira, right from self-service, easy-to-use visualization, to embedded analytics, to industry or process analytics, to more complex and custom analytics. And for those who really want to use the whole power of open source R, we provide that, and we have the ability with our platform to go after and bring that into the problem-solving domain. So really, we find that with the full spectrum, you're able to cater to people who are really end business users, to the most complex data scientists, and R is the most powerful, complex set of algorithms out there, and we provide all of it. So I just wanted to share that. I think that is important just to kind of highlight why and how this is, this is the strategy and why people and customers are really excited about what we are bringing to the table.
One of the things that I think is really exciting for the SAP customer is that SAP are focusing on advanced analytics, but the foundational pieces of managing your BI effectively for an organization or for an enterprise, with the introduction of HANA and the capabilities that brings of connecting your R integration or the predictive analysis tool to a platform like HANA, and how you can actually get information into that is really a step beyond what your competitors are doing in that space, right? Like, so for maybe data scientists that use R today, a lot of their work is actually spent collecting their data, and they have to use a small amount of data because they're then running the engine locally on a PC to actually process it, and so they're doing quite small sample data sets compared to maybe the information that's available. And with the SAP tools, you're able to run these algorithms on very large sets of data. I mean, I've played with it myself with HANA, and being able to run the market basket analysis algorithm over millions of records of data, and it just returns results like that. And if you run it through the R engine, you have to do a much smaller sample set, and it still takes you 30 seconds to actually process that amount of data.
No, you're absolutely right, Josh. That's exactly it. And I think the first point that we covered was really what is our kind of approach to the market. And we really do believe that we are democratizing the predictive application. That's one. But two is really providing big data solutions. And as you said, HANA is an incredible innovation, really exciting what it's been able to do and the kind of traction it's gotten in the marketplace. And the reason is exactly what you said. We are living more in a real-time world, and it's not just sampling data. You want to be able to take billions of rows, whatever amount of data, because there's a lot of hidden signals in that. And that's where just BI and visualization is not enough. You need the predictive capabilities. So, A, leveraging that platform of real time, and then also combining the BI, the visualization, and predictive gives you a whole nother level of value that customers can use, and we are making it easy for them to be able to adopt it.
One of the I guess the things that it kind of raises in my mind when we talk about exposing embedded analytics to line of business users and the predictive capabilities even to business analysts is how you manage the trust factor of the predictive algorithm that you're applying. And so the example you gave before about a call center manager and actually being able to say what's the next best offer, that's I guess a tried and tested algorithm that is very easy to put trust in. But other ones, I guess there's a lot more of a grey area, and there's this might be 50% accurate or so on. How I guess our SAP going to help customers manage that when you start to provide a predictive analysis tool that lets people run algorithms, and then they have to understand maybe how much they can trust the output of that algorithm.
Sure. No, I think very good question, Josh. And I think here's the thing, because one of the things that people ask us, oh, that's great, it's automatic or automated, but how can I trust it or understand the robustness of it? The fact is, especially in the advanced analytics world, one thing is everything constantly changes, and you can never depend on one model that will be there forever. That just doesn't exist. The fact is, what you want is constant change and iterations and refinements and new things. Like for before 5, 6, 7 years ago, the social media element was not at all relevant for many customers in CRM. Today, you would hardly find any company that's not using it in some shape or form. So life changes, and then different channels and different networks that affect it. So everything changes, and that is why the speed, or as I call time to insight, has to be even quicker than what the legacy tools provide today. And not only has it got to be quicker, but like you said, there's the reliability and robustness. So that's where the secret special sauce that we have is we have abilities to train the model, understand the robustness and the quality of the model, and then as it runs, constantly keep checking that, and if there is something that's deviating, quickly course correct it. Now, this is where you'll always have the experts involved. You don't expect a call center person to open up the BI or their application and say, let me fix the model. But this is all happening in the background. That's why you do have the data scientists or the next level of business analysts that can modify and tweak and understand it. And that's what we are making easier to do. And that's what has not been made as easy for people to leverage. And I think that's what's the paradigm change that SAP is bringing to the market.
So I know a lot of what you already kind of talked about, and even with the HANA and the bigger systems is definitely a focus. I mean, obviously it's big business, but how are you working to try to get this into the hands of the smaller businesses maybe that can't stand up these huge systems or afford to have massive data sets, but still could benefit from your predictive analysis?
Yeah, no, and that's where I think there is a bit of a misnomer here. When we say big data, everybody thinks this is some humongous thing that's probably in some secret service place and everybody's looking at it. The fact is, there are many, many countries that have limited population, and you could say, well, is that big data or small data? But I think the point is a couple of things, is that we are having a strong focus on cloud. And a lot of the smaller vendors, and in fact larger vendors, are saying, how can I leverage the cloud so that it's easier to use and I don't have to have the burden of setting up a lot of things? And that's partially part of the question you're asking, Greg. And we are embedding a lot of these things into our cloud solutions, not just SAP. For example, KXEN actually had a cloud integration with Salesforce.com. The example that I gave of the call center agent, if they're using a Salesforce application and there was a next best offer activity, so a small or medium-sized company, call center agent could leverage it and use it. We have integrated this into our own CRM cloud offerings, the SAP, and we are integrating this into a number of cloud offerings, whether it's the SuccessFactors or Ariba or Hybris. All these are whether it's small mom and pop shop or big, large, global 500 companies, all will be able to use it, both on an on-premise or cloud format based on what they want. And there's nothing stopping, and that's where there are certain elements that lend to embeddability, and certain things if they have the skills and resources to do it on premise if they want. Because there are certain companies like financial services and others who may never want to, take their data to the cloud, and given some of the security privacy concerns.
It's great to hear that you're embedding that into all the different applications in cloud and on-premise applications that SAP have as a kind of strategy, because I think that's where like you showed in your user kind of population, giving it to the data scientists, that capability, or even just to the business analysts and the data scientists, you're still only addressing 3% of the user base in your organization. But if you can embedded in your CRM application, and all your CRM users are actually getting the benefits of these algorithms built into the platform, then I guess there's also less maintenance effort for the data scientists, because the algorithms and how they're addressed are baked into the platform. But the organization is still able to leverage those benefits.
Yeah, no, Josh, and that's where what I see, if you look in the not too distant future, you want intelligence in almost every application, and you shouldn't have to build it. And quite frankly, that's the same vision we have for self-service BI, where why should you build a report or some visualization if the system knows who I am, what my personal attributes are, what I want to do, and if I'm a VP of sales in the Western region in Australia, why should it not just build all the things that I typically do, and based on my last interaction, morph itself to give the personalized view, right? It's a bit like what, the Google founder said, that I invented Google Glass so that nobody should search. It should come to me what I want based on my desire or my indications. And I think that's really where BI and predictive are going. Now, is there a ways to go? Yes. And the way I would give an analogy is we had horses, then we had cars, we had the stick shift, then we got the automatic cars, and now Google is even creating a self-directed car, right? You don't have to do it. So, everything is a question of time, but I think the trend is always the same. How can human beings do less and get more productivity from technology? And predictive is going to be huge given the amount of data that's coming, and it's just exploding more and more, right?
Yeah. I think I'm going to go run and put my Star Trek shirt on really quick.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Exactly. No, it's awesome.
One of the interesting things is always understanding industry use cases that aren't kind of normal, and I guess a lot of people are familiar with the typical big data use cases, and tapping social media, or if you're in the retail industry, and being able to leverage predictive analytics. I guess from your perspective, Shekhar, what are some really interesting use cases you're seeing in industries that don't fit that kind of normal, I guess, discussion point?
Yeah. So, let me just tell you some of the standard areas where there is still so much headroom for people to leverage, right? Even if you look at telecommunications, which, we live in a mobile world today, and just the amount of data and different connectivity points that are there, how can you get a better profile of a customer? That is a constant theme, irrespective of, where you are. Two is, how do you manage risk? So how do you make sure that the person you're giving a loan to, or person that you're going to be hiring, or whatever is associated with a person, that you have the integrity and you're managing the risk based on all the available information. It's about operations, right? So, for example, a manufacturer is taking machine data that's being generated, looking at patterns and trends, and being able to predict when a failure will happen, and automatically create a service before that happens. Mm-hmm. So whether it's an airline or a heavy material, manufacturing kind of company, there are already companies that are doing that and leveraging that. And that is a very interesting use case because it really goes to machine learning. And as I was saying, you want more and more of this data coming and being analyzed quickly, and then the alerts or recommendations being given so the right human intervention or action can be taken. Now, the same thing is also being done in, say, let's say websites, because that's another very dynamic area. There's so much online e-commerce going on, so many users. One customer of ours, they are, the largest marketplace after eBay, Allegro, in Europe. And they have millions of users and millions of clicks. So how do you, when a person is at their site, have the right kind of recommendation, which is not a silly pop-up, but an intelligent pop-up that has the probability that they would like, and your pop-up has some meaning that they may purchase or have a high probability to transact. But the uncommon thing is that it's not static. It is based on personalized real-time information, and it's constantly learning, right? So you could say, well, there's already these kind of recommendation, but it's the intelligence behind it that you are adding to the process. Right? So there are lots of these examples across all industry, whether telecommunications, finance, manufacturing, CPG, retail, healthcare, sports, right? That how do you figure out who's the right player? And when you're drafting new players, we are working with the NFL. Really exciting, both on the visualization side. When you're drafting and recruiting, you're spending millions of dollars. Is this player going to be that performer? And how this has also kind of become more mainstream with that whole Moneyball concept. When you really do the analysis and analytics, it gives you insight into areas where people were not leveraging before. So you get the whole spectrum, Josh.
I know for myself, I work for a mining organisation here in Australia, and it seems because I've worked in quite a few different mining companies and kind of oil and gas, is that predictive maintenance planned maintenance of assets, so heavy machinery and fixed plant. It's a very traditional part of the industry which has been untouched for a long time. If you're a planner or a maintenance scheduler, then you have a vast amount of knowledge in your head about when pieces of equipment break and when you need to be planning to do your maintenance. And it doesn't seem like that industry has been touched very much for a long time in terms of actually starting to use the information we're capturing. We capture all this information in systems, whether they be SOP or not, about when we're actually fixing bits, and for this particular type of machine, or for a Komatsu truck, or for a Caterpillar truck, how often are we actually maintaining it? But we're never actually leveraging that information to start to predict, hey, maybe this piece of equipment will fail on this particular truck, because that's been known to happen in all our data sets, going back for the last 10 years. I guess when you have those kind of industries, or those niche, parts of industries where you can that potentially revolutionizes the whole way you approach planning your maintenance scheduling. I guess how do you manage that with maybe the resistance from that industry to I guess you impacting people's jobs, and actually their knowledge base becomes less relevant.
Sure, no, absolutely, and I think this is the constant. Of every time change or transformation happens. There are going to be people who believe, this is the way I do it, don't threaten me, but there is no stopping progress and change and productivity. So it will prevail, it's a question of time. But I think there's a couple of fundamental things for that change to happen. One is you got to have a sponsor or a business leader that believes in the vision, and they believe that they want to change. Otherwise, no amount of technology, the best and the brightest and the most expensive, means nothing. So I think it starts with a person and a leader and a visionary. Two is for people like us to say, look, there is some very cool, new, innovative things, not just for the sake of it. It's not some hobby or plaything, but this can have material business benefit, and it also makes people's lives easier. So heavy machinery in a difficult situation or a difficult terrain, when it malfunctions, it could have life-threatening consequences. If you're able to really reduce that, and you'll never get it to zero, but significantly reduce that 20, 30, 50%, why would you not try something? And whether it's SAP or whoever, to make that better. I mean, that desire has to be there. And we have to do a better job in showing and evangelizing this, and then really taking pilots and proof points and say, let's take an example where we do it and where we don't, and then just do a simple test. Did this improve the business without it making it a multi-year, prolonged, heavy project? It's a simple, quick pilot to show is there value or not, and what kind of value, and then take those baby steps and take it to the next level. So I think it really is about the vision and the leadership. It's about us as vendors and service providers to show the new innovation and then prove the innovation in a quick, consumable, easy way, and show the results and articulate that. And then change will happen. And if we didn't get that first point right, then it doesn't matter. And you saw in the movie Moneyball, in the book, that's the same thing. There are people who just do it a certain way. And then when you bring a new paradigm, it's very difficult, it's ugly, and you need some leader, but then there is a way to do it. It will make it better.
And I guess you can, also add to that by the approach of the embedded analytics as well. So, SAP actually producing ERP systems and having maintenance as part of that component, just embedding that capability, so the system's telling you, they might take 5 years, 10 years as it pervades the market, but it's just not starting to be built into the platform as well. So you're still educating and bringing that industry or group along on that journey about proving it to them, but also at the same time embedding it in the platform so it's just available whether they want to use it or not.
You're absolutely right, and that is a part of our strategy. I mean, SAP is the biggest business process company, and that's what we find is a huge advantage for us. And there's actually so many application internal teams saying we want to embed predictive, and we literally have to prioritize. We have so many resources. How do we go about this? And that's the beauty. Now we got some really cool things, and everybody's wanting to leverage it.
Any questions from you, Greg? I've got more, but I want to dominate the.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. If you've got another question, fire away.
Well, so I guess what we were just discussing leads into my next one, which is about sometimes it's difficult to get line of business or a particular market segment to come along on that journey, but the business analysts, I guess, are the key to that. I guess data scientists to date have maybe sat off in their own area and kind of protected, but how do we educate business analysts better, whether they be technical BI people or functional business analysts, about how predictive analytics actually works, what works, and I guess what are the things that you'll never be able to do, but I guess being aware of the limits of predictive analytics, because getting that group engaged and educated, I guess, is the connection to the line of business. They're embedded in the line of business, but they can articulate the benefits maybe better than a data scientist would be talking to a business user.
No, and that is an excellent point, and I think that is actually that is going to be the tipping point to making it pervasive or not. And at least what we are doing is definitely doing our education seminars. And I also think that it's not just SAP, it's our partner and ecosystems. They play a very valuable role, that we need to make sure we are educating, we are doing training, we are also co-innovating with partners on these new kinds of solutions where there is the business analyst or the functional domain industry expert with the technology, bringing those things that are more packaged so it's easier. So it's education, it's a partner ecosystem, and we are doing more things to make more self-service virtual learning possible, because everybody can't always fly to go to a training class, and we can be everywhere also. So the combination of all those things I think are very important, and also just articulating the business value, right? The first thing is why should anybody even spend time? Because nobody seems to have a lot of spare time with anybody that I meet these days. So it has to be something of value, and that's where these business use cases and industry use cases are very important. So you can make a difference, and then give them the tools and technology in an easy, convenient way where they can learn, they can experiment, whether it's a cloud kind of sandbox environment that they can do some prototypes or testing. So those are all the things that we are doing to kind of enable it and make it even more pervasive.
Maybe there's some opportunities there for SAP around. I know there's been a lot of effort put into the OpenSAP initiative around providing training for HANA or for business objects, but I see there's an opportunity there for business analysts and maybe technical BI developers to attend a course where they learn, I guess, functionally what predictive analytics provides. Work through industry use cases, and then actually start to use some information in SAP predictive analysis, or to run through a particular model and see actually what are the results and how can I actually apply that to my industry.
Yeah, no, that's why, Josh, the business intelligence, visualization, and predictive, I think these are all kind of converging in a way, because you want to look at what's happened, you want to visualize it in an easy, more consumable way, and you want to look at what could happen and how do I optimize it. And these should not be disjointed, and that's why as a SAP analytics strategy, we really believe in, I believe very strongly and passionately about this, is how do they come together. And this is also another advantage. And to your point, there is the HANA element, and think about the business process element, because at the end of the day, it's about making the last mile very easy. If you do all this and it doesn't give you action, BI, visualization, predictive is all bogus, right? It doesn't do anything. And that's when then people start questioning, why did I buy this and what's the investment? You've got to always start with that end goal. And this convergence will make it easier. And when you do that, the adoption becomes faster.
Excellent. We're nearly at the top of the hour. Greg, do you have one more question to close us out?
Yeah, just really briefly, I'm curious. I'm sure I heard at one of the fall conferences last year that SAP was offering out for companies that maybe didn't have a resident data scientist, that you guys had one or several that they could borrow, obviously with consulting dollars. But are you seeing a lot of demand for that, or are there people starting to use those?
More than you would believe, Greg. We can't get them on, and they are so busy and consumed. And actually, that goes to prove my point. There are not enough of them, right? Yeah. So we have like 100-odd people, and we don't know where they are because they're so consumed with customers and projects that that's why we do need to make it more easy and pervasive. So the simple answer is yes, we have them. They are extremely busy, and they are a rare breed, so we got to kind of somehow clone them into the computer genetic code that we can use, and we believe we have some unique technology to do that and help with that.
Outstanding. I had a hunch that was the answer, but it was good to hear.
Yeah.
Excellent. Can our viewers see you at any conferences coming up this year?
Absolutely. No, I'm going to be in Australia. I'm at the Gartner conference starting next Monday and Tuesday, and I'm actually doing a city tour from Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, and Auckland. And I will be up in the Nordics, in the Norway, Denmark, and Sweden innovation forums, and in the UK. So yes, no, I'm truly flying all over the world, and I would love to engage with people out there. If you have any questions, any comments, and any ideas, we're not claiming and so arrogant to think we have it all. We think we have a very good strategy and something that works, but it's about getting those real-life engagements and what are the blockers and how do we remove them and work together to really make this something more compelling, and we strongly believe we have something very unique here.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, thank you very much again for giving us some of your time today. We're nearly at the top of the hour, so we'll let you get on to the rest of your busy schedule, I'm sure. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you on the show again, hopefully sometime in the near future.
Absolutely, Josh. And thank you, Greg. Thank you for your time and really enjoyed this. Okay? Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
Shekhar.
Thanks.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us on the net at savethecms.com.
D-Slayer!